Greetings, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of Dabbling with Dan. Today, Dan is going to be dabbling in replacing the drive belt for this Yamaha 660 Grizzly ATV. And I've never done this before, but the drive belt goes in here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to take that off and replace the belt. We'll probably do some maintenance in there as well. I'm very interested to see whether or not I have any mouse bedding. I have found plenty of evidence of mice nesting in this ATV, which had sat for about 6 years. But before we go any further, over there in that corner, there's a little subscribe button. Give it a push, leave a comment, ring the bell. But thanks a lot for joining me. Let's go ahead and dig into this project. It ought to be kind of interesting. And I'm sure it probably needs a new belt. All right, let's check this out. Let's see if this comes up. Oh boy. Check this out, everybody. Look at all that mouse junk. This is pretty dirty. Okay. So over here is the cold air intake. There was nest droppings down in there, so I'm worried that we might have a nest in there. First thing we got to do is remove this pan. So there's 3 Phillips head with 10mm nuts on this and this, so a total of 6. And then there's 4 10mm bolts holding this on. So let's go ahead. These 10mm bolts, there's 14 of them that hold this case on, and I'm going to go ahead and use my cordless drill with an extension. Now I'm going to give it a little tug. We might have to push this down a little bit to get this off. Okay, looks pretty good inside there. And what I'm seeing is a lot of kind of like grime, and that kind of causes me some concern about the grease that's in here. So we need to remove this cage so that we can take the rest of this off. And these This cage is held on by 4 10 millimeters. So we'll start right here. Now it is important. 2 of these are short and 2 of them are long. We need to make sure we put them back the way they're supposed to be. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead and remove this cage. So there's a little bushing that goes right in there, okay? Like so. And it looks like maybe we're missing one. Need to find it. All right. Now, I'm inspecting the belt, which doesn't look in bad shape, but there is some dust. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to replace that. Now, I need to go ahead and get a socket and remove this, which will allow me to actually kind of look at what's inside there to see whether or not that needs some cleaning. So let's find that socket. All right, I got a 22 millimeter socket on my impact to go ahead and remove this nut. Like so. And then there's a washer right there. And you can kind of see all this grease on there. We want to clean this up. And then this should slide right off. Might have to push that down a little bit. And we wanted to go ahead and take a look inside here and see if this thing needs to be greased up, which I think it does. It looks pretty nasty. All right, but while we're here, the belt will come off a whole lot easier right now, that's for sure. Definitely want to replace it. And it has a direction. It's kind of hard to see, but it doesn't look like in bad shape, but a new one is much better than an old one. And I want to pull this fan out to see if I got any. Yeah, I see crud down in here, which we need to pull this back cover off, which means we need to take this off as well to see if we have ourselves a problem. But that looks pretty good. No grooves, no damage, no nicks. I wonder if that's the same size. Sure is. Okay, now this is just a nut washer. Let's pull this off. We'll clean that up. That doesn't look that bad. And it looks like this is going to be held on by 10 millimeter. Let's go ahead and pull this off. I got that loose. Let's pull this out. Ooh, I see something right there, everybody. You see it right? Right there. What is that? Let's grab it. Ooh. That is a dead mouse. See if I can focus in on it. Yikes. It's a dead mouse. Mummified. And what else we got in there? I can't quite grab anything there, but I see debris. I got an idea how to blow that out. So let me show you what I'm going to do here. Got my little leaf blower, and I'm going to start it up, and I'm going to blow what's in that intake out. Make sure it's good and cleaned out. But since it is going to blow a bunch of junk out there, because I know there's some debris in there, I'm going to put this mask on. All right, let's give this a start. Oh yeah, some more junk came out. Now I've got the cold air comes in and then it goes out this exhaust and up here. So let's take that back piece out. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and turn on that leaf blower and try to blow up that direction. All right, I feel pretty confident that we have clear pipes, so we got clean airflow that's going to come in here, keep this cool, and then exit out the rear. Before we reinstall this though, let's kind of clean, before we reinstall the back case. What a mess. Let's go ahead and clean all this. Looks like it's like food. Loosen that up. Now use that blower one more time to kind of clean this all out. Okay. Next thing is, I'll double check to make sure my gaskets are all on, and they are. Let's go ahead and put this back on.
To survive, and you're still alive. Carry on. Even if you've been misled and all of your dreams are dead. Carry on. Even if you can't forget, take a quick look and settle.
Well, let's take a look at this Now there's the nut. It's got some good grease in here, but this just needs to be wiped out. And I'm inspecting it for any gouges or grooves, and I don't see any. That looks really good. Let's clean this up before we go ahead and put this back on. Of course, now inside here, we don't want to have any grease. So we will definitely make sure that we don't have any before we install. We'll reapply some grease in there, and we'll go ahead and put this back on. And I believe the torque is somewhere between 80 and 100 foot-pounds. All right, let's go over here. All right, we went ahead and reapplied some grease. Let's go ahead and slide this back on there. There's a certain way that's got to go on. I don't know. There we go. Okay, now we got to torque this down. And here's another thing. You see these two screws here? We're going to use two long screws that we took off the cover here to push this back plate. So when we decide to, when we're ready to put on the new belt, it's actually better if that's pushed out. Okay, I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. Well, we want to go ahead and grease this unit, and we got to remove this cover, which has an O-ring around here. But first we got to remove these 8 Phillips heads screws.
Pow.
You kind of notice how this thing moved. I'm going to go ahead and pop this off. That's real stiff, which is a good indicator that it needed a little maintenance done. There we go. Yeah, so here we've got some old looking grease. You could tell that will be all removed and cleaned up. And here is the O-ring that we're going to reuse, hopefully, if it's in good shape. Yes, it is. All right, now this thing comes all the way out, and I want to be careful not to scratch anything. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and get this all greased up. These actually should be greased. All right. Well, I'm going to clean this all up and we'll come right back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just disassemble all of these pieces, and we're going to go ahead and lube all this stuff up. Now the thing about these is they have like a inner bearing, so we're going to take all these apart and lube them up as we reinsert them, but I'm going to make sure I use the same pair. All right, the next step, I'm going to take this O-ring, which is in good shape. There's a groove. And what this O-ring will do is the cap that I'll put on here in a second, it'll keep this grease from coming out. So here's the cap, and you see all the bolt holes. Now, before I put this on, I'm just going to use my finger here and just put a light coat of grease on this inner edge here, so that when I put this down on the O-ring, it'll be easier to slide on. All right, now before we put this down onto, we got one more thing we got to do. All right, now these pieces right here need to be greased. So I'm going to do that right now. Perfect. Now you'll have to match these up with the 4 columns here, and then this should slide straight down on there. And I'm double checking the grease here to make sure we got good lubrication and coverage. And it looks like we do. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this down onto it. Like I said, the O-ring is nice and lubed up, and I'm going to just push this down onto it. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit to line up the holes and replace my washers and my screws, which are right here. And let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, and you see how this piece of equipment right here is all the way down? I'm going to stuff something in here to keep it in that position. I'm just going to take this old rag that I have here, Now, certainly I'm not going to leave that in there. I'll just keep that in the position because I'm going to be turning this thing upside down. And I have this piece here I need to put in. Now, this is where the kind of the belt's going to rub on, so I don't want to grease that up. But I already greased inside there. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide this all the way down in there. Perfect. All right, now let's go over to the ATV. We want to clean this up because we don't want any grease on this face. So I've got some paper towels here, but I want to use a cleaning agent because any grease on there will be bad for slippage of the new belt. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lightly coat these gears. Now this is the one that has the fan. I'm going to go ahead and slide that all the way on. Okay. And now I'll go ahead and maneuver this in place. There we go. And of course, I'm going to now remove this towel here. And of course, you can see this is all the way in the lower position. And you do that to keep those rollers kind of coming out and maybe falling over. All right, the next step is to put the washer on and the nut. And we'll tighten that down, I believe, to 100 foot-pounds. Okay. Of course, this is already on, and 22 millimeter. I'm just gonna use this impact wrench just to snug it up. There we go. And let's go get the torque wrench and double check, make sure we're torqued down. And now we're gonna get 2 bolts in here so we can push this back plate towards the ATV so we can put our belt on. Now I've got these 2 bolts that were used to hold the cage on. These are the shorter, and I'm gonna go ahead and start them in here, and that will help me push. Let me show you what I'm going to do here. As I screw these in, it's going to push this in that way. It's going to push that in towards. I'm going to use 2 bolts to do it, just so I got an equal push. And what it's doing is pushing against this and pushing that spring. Okay, now let me show you what we're going to do. All right, we're going to take our brand new belt. Yay! I'm excited about putting this on. And as you kind of rotate it, you're going to see some letters. And they always say that to put these into position, there's usually like arrows, or if you're looking down at it, how you would read the numbers. So there we go. All right. So the belt's in good position. Now let's go ahead and pull those out. And we're going to go ahead and reuse these, so we don't want to lose them. Okay. I like putting my bolts or nuts or washers in little sandwich baggies. All right, now you're supposed to turn it. I think it's in gear. Take it out of gear first, people. Might be helpful. You see how the belt is now tight and it's ready to go. Again, we're going to double check these torques. And then we can put the cover on. All right. All right, 100 foot-pounds. And we need to go ahead and come up with something that will hold that in place. And let's see if we can figure something out. I saw another YouTuber kind of come up with an idea about you see there's thick and thin fins here. What you need to do, you need to get something that you can wedge underneath one of these thick ones. Get this to 100 foot-pounds torque. Okay, now, before I put the cage on, I want to put a nice dab of grease right here on this end. And of course, I'll put some in this hole here. Not too much. And then I want to wipe off the excess. There we go. That looks nice there. Our bolts, and if you notice, there's 2 long ones and 2 short ones. And you have like a 2 o'clock and a 7 o'clock. That's where the long bolts go. And the short ones go in the other ones. So take our 10 millimeter and let's go ahead and put these back in. And we'll torque them down to just over 7 foot-pounds. Well, the next thing to do is to go ahead and put the cover back on. All right, now we're going to put this foot pad in. All right, well, thanks a lot for joining me. We're going to go ahead and take a look at a couple things. We got a radiator coolant leak, and there's a couple other fine tunings, but we'll come back after we get everything back. We got to still do the brakes and probably going to change out the radiator coolant and figure out where it's leaking. But hey, thanks for joining me thus far. All right.